New Orleans Saints 24. Chicago Bears 17. Saints move to 5-4. Commanding lead in the NFC South now. And Bears fall to 2-7. Tyson Bagent got the start again. Had 3 picks, 4 turnover-worthy plays. QBR loved him this week because he had some runs. He had 70 yards on the ground. QBR loved Bagent. Those interceptions were kind of rough, though. Yeah. Saints starting to round into form. They didn't finish the game. They had a field goal to go up 10 late that they doinked, and it was still close, but we're creeping up toward where the Saints should be, and in part because we know they don't have a great schedule, but this should be the time to maybe create some space in the NFC South for New Orleans.
Who was the quarterback that was reminding you at draft time of Jimmy G?
Not Bagent.
No, but I'm starting to get Jimmy G vibes from Bagent, which is like between the boneheaded mistakes, it's good. Like he's quite efficient.
Oh, I had Tua as a Jimmy G.
Yeah, he's quite sort of efficient and game managery, and then you just get this ridiculous interception. It's like, come on, you can't,
Well, 2 of them. So the 3 interceptions, one was a pretty bad misread, the first one. The other 2 were just inaccurate.
Yeah.
It was man coverage. It was tight man coverage. You just left him behind. 2 in a row. Very similar. Either way, they're bad, putting the ball in harm's way. He did have the 70 yards on the ground. He had a couple nice scrambles. I thought early on it was Cole Kmet looking like Gronk at the catch point. Kmet ends up with 2 touchdowns. Nice scheme on the other one. But I don't know. Bears were interesting in this game, right? Darnell Mooney had a huge gain on a screen. Had some juice because he's fast. He looked fast yesterday. Kmet's, mossing people. Bagent's doing a little scrambling and making some plays. But the turnovers ended up being a huge factor in this one.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of my way of saying every game there's something to Bagent. Like, I'm kind of impressed by him, but then he just makes it hard to go to bat for him with the turnovers, which are quite a high volume. And it's not like, Sam Howell could make quite a lot of turnovers because of his, the big plays are there. And you can at least make that Jameis argument of we're doing a lot of good for every bad thing we do here. Whereas Bagent, it's like, you're functional and this is working and we're moving the ball and it looks okay, but you undo a lot of that when you make one of these turnovers. And if you have 3 of them in a game, it's pretty hard to go to bat for you here. But the offense does look functional when he's out there, and there are other people within the system are making plays just as long as he isn't turning the ball over.
The tough thing to figure out as far as Bagent and his future, and again, I haven't seen enough where I'm like, man, I want that guy as my starter.
Right.
But I've seen enough where I'm like, all right, this guy could have a career backup.
I mean, I do think it's becoming a question, though, which guy do you want to see more from for the second, the next 9 games? Or
I still want to see Fields.
I mean, I think you've reached the point where you've given up on Fields.
Potentially, but I want Fields to maybe increase his value, his trade value.
I don't know that he's doing that, though, playing. I don't know that playing games helps Justin Fields' trade value at this point.
I don't know. I thought he did last year. I thought he improved his value down the stretch.
But if you're the Bears and you are looking at, you're probably going to draft a quarterback at the top of the draft. Now you have, whatever this is, 8 games to essentially either get more information on one of the 2 quarterbacks you have on the roster at the moment, or, as you say, try and put one of them in the shop window more. I think Bagent is the more relevant guy to get info on. Because A, he's probably the guy you could keep as a backup, and getting an idea of what he is quite useful. B, given the leap he's making of Division II to NFL starter, I mean, he's a guy whose growth curve could happen quite quickly. And C, again, I don't think Justin Fields playing football games is helping his value.
The thing that it reminds me of, remember when Jalen Hurts took over for Carson Wentz, and Philadelphia's offense felt better and it looked better and they scored more points, but he also always had 3 or 4 turnover-worthy plays a week.
Yeah.
And as we do here on the PFF NFL podcast, we'd be like, hold on, everybody. I know you think you're seeing some good stuff from Jalen Hurts, but let's throw some cold water on that and tell you about these 4 turnover-worthy plays that he had, which was all true, right? We weren't lying about this. However, maybe Jalen Hurts isn't the best comp because that dude has continued to progress every year of his career, and he's done some really impressive stuff. But early Jalen Hurts, it's like there was a spark, there was this thing, but there was a lot of mistakes. one of the biggest challenges, I think, in evaluation is saying, when do those bad things, when do they grow out of them? Because if we went back in hindsight, we'd be like, yeah, Jalen Hurts is sparking the offense and he's going to grow out of these mistakes, basically. And he did. I mean, that's hindsight. Can Bagent do that? Like, there's a little spark for the offense. It's not necessarily showing up on the scoreboard, but there's a little spark. But we got to get rid of some of these mistakes that he's made over these last few weeks. Mm-hmm. And if he does that, there's something there.
Yeah.
Now, there's for every Jalen Hurts, there's other QBs who just never progressed or got better.
Right.
But that's why I think Bagent's intriguing, and it's like, hey, I'm okay with him as my backup going forward. We'll draft another guy, but I wouldn't mind showcasing Fields for a little bit if I'm the Bears.
Paulson Adebo made a ridiculous peanut punch turnover. He had an incredible game. He's had a few games this season where he's just made some insane plays.
He has.
Like high leverage, turnovers, forced fumbles, these kinds of things. Another game here where he gave up, a little bit of yardage, some catches, but he had multiple turnovers. Just a crazy performance from Adebo. And this, the Saints defensive backs collectively are having that kind of season where they are constantly challenging receivers, constantly making plays on the ball, forcing fumbles, forcing interceptions. Marcus May, one of the interceptions on Bagent, as you said, bad accuracy left behind him, but what a break by Marcus May on that ball to pick it off.
Yeah, that was a really good play. And then, the Taysom Hill package, they get into the red zone, big run, touchdown pass. You pointed out the double on Colin Saunders.
Ah, yeah, that too. Yeah, doubling a defensive tackle's probably not great red zone defense.
Probably not great.
Did you see the other stat, though? Taysom Hill just putting himself in the Hall of Fame along with these other people.
Oh, what did he do?
I got to find it. Hang on. Here we go. Taysom Hill recorded, this is ESPN Stats and Info. Taysom Hill recorded his 10th career reception touchdown. He's the 5th player in NFL history to have at least 10 passing, receiving, and rushing touchdowns in their career, and he's the first since Frank Gifford in 1964.
I was going to say, it's got to be all guys from the 50s.
Yeah, but the previous 4 players to do it are all in the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
I'm just saying the precedent has been set.
People made fun of Sean Payton.
But he just drafted a Hall of Famer.
They laughed at Sean Payton.
Acquired.
They drafted a 30-year-old future Hall of Famer, basically.
Yeah.
In Taysom Hill.
I mean, his resume speaks for itself. It's right up there with 4 other Hall of Famers, all of which happened before 1964.
The thing I can't figure out for the 5th straight year, how do you bottle up the good Taysom Hill games and use them at the right time? Because there's certain times where it's like, hey, the Saints are struggling in the red zone, but Taysom goes out there. He has 52 rushing yards yesterday. He has the red zone touchdown pass, right?
And
catches one. And so sometimes he is the antidote to all of your red zone woes. And this is what makes me so intrigued by the Saints. They play this tough defense where they have a game like yesterday. Yeah, they gave up some plays, but they could turn it over, make in contest passes. And then you've got the playmakers on offense that have been waiting for them to all get unlocked all year. Then you might have this Taysom Hill red zone package that is difficult to stop once every 8 weeks. I mean, that's what's intriguing about the Saints. But, last couple of weeks, Carr's playing a little cleaner brand of football. There's not as many miscommunications. So, credit the Saints, man. I think they're rounding into form and also taking advantage of the schedule here.
Yeah. I mean, look, one of the touchdowns, or the touchdown pass from Taysom Hill, was that play where Chicago double teams a defensive tackle and doesn't cover the receiver that scores.
It's because the tight end's playing quarterback. You don't know how do you
But so on that play, they double teamed a defensive tackle. And by the way, it's not like you could be confused sometimes in this modern world of numbering system, right? A defensive tackle might be wearing a weird number that looks like a receiver. No, this is a dude wearing number 99 and is quite obviously from shape a defensive tackle. Anyway, you double team that guy. They also double teamed the obvious blocking tight end in the game. One of these guys that looks like an offensive tackle but wears like number 87 or whatever. So they double teamed those 2 guys, and the one player who's sort of obviously like the most capable receiving threat on the field is the one that's wide open in the back of the end zone. It's like, okay, this is not a Taysom Hill problem here. This is a structural breakdown in defense problem.
Well, yeah, the Bears' defense isn't great. Bears right now sitting at 2-3. Carolina's pick and their own pick. 2 and 3 in the draft. Arizona picking number 1.